So I found myself driving around the back of this shopping mall, just killing time as I was picking up Hammer. And there's these little boxes that are outside like this. And they're outside the back of a number of the different shopping centers. I'm not sure if you know what these are. Those of you who do are recoiling, those who aren't sure. These are rat traps, or at least poison. And they're to poison the vermin that walks around at night and ends up in their stores. And instead, they leave these little feeding stations outside so that when they come near them, they're attracted to it. They go inside and they eat it and they eventually die. Back in the car again now, and I was thinking as I'm looking at these rat feeding stations, all this talk of pestilence and disease, there certainly would have been a time when these rat traps and these kind of things were the things that really did scare people. So I'm back in the church again, friends, and as I was out thinking about this idea that we have so many things that will make us afraid these days. Part of the reality that we have to remember is that when you see those rat traps and feeding stations and such, I thought, when there's been pestilence and disease over the years, and certainly that's still the case in some areas of the world beyond this recent pandemic, that used to be the thing that would make people afraid. They would see these vermin running around and they would realize that this stuff is spread through rats and other kinds of animals. And those were the things that would make people afraid. It's interesting to me now that you wander through a grocery store or you're somewhere near somebody in the post office, or perhaps the occasional time you're still in the bank, a few of the businesses that are still open. And it's not normal, but we're afraid of people. We can be afraid of being around people. We can think, yikes, I'm afraid of that. And it's understandable on one hand. I mean, let's face it, friends, as someone said this week, the virus is not spreading. We are spreading the virus. COVID-19 is not like a forest fire that's spreading and we're looking to do something to get in the way of it. It's being spread because we will not take social and physical distancing seriously enough. They've closed down the parks in Toronto because families just won't get it. And there's understandable aspects of that. But it also betrays how we often deal with things that people tell us for years: stop smoking, you're going to hurt yourself. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to drive without my seatbelt on. I'm going to walk against the red light. I'm going to eat too many of this kind of food. I'm going to drink too much of that kind of something. I mean, there's things that we know, or at least people are telling us, and it's not cognition, it's volition, it's choices. I know everyone's telling me I shouldn't do it. I'm just going to keep doing it anyway. And for some reason, the consequence of the problem is an inconvenience I'd rather have than the inconvenience of actually helping to solve the problem. So I walked through the grocery store the other day, and people are 3 inches from each other, talking into each other's faces, stopping in the middle of the aisles. People are squeezing around them, absolutely jam-packed, as if there's no problem. And yet these are the same people who have their grocery carts packed with toilet paper and canned foods. I'm not going to inconvenience myself to be part of the solution by actually taking this social distancing seriously, but I will inconvenience myself with dealing with the effects of it by thinking that I'm going to need all these paper goods. Friends, we have an opportunity at Downsview Baptist Church to show ourselves to be people who are not afraid of other people, but are seeking to love other people so much that we're willing to be inconvenienced in light of each other. We have to be careful that we don't think that it's people are the things we need to be afraid of. It's this disease. And the challenge at this time is that the fear of the virus can become a fear of people. So counterintuitive to us as Christians. That I'm afraid of someone because they're Chinese ethnicity, because that's where this all started apparently, or they're of Italian descent, or Iranian descent, or what? They're from New York, or they're from somewhere in California, or they've come from, you know what I mean? We can attach the problem to certain people, and then our love for the solution actually ends up being a concern of being around, or almost a dislike and maybe even a hatred of people. The concern for Christians, dear friends, is that we at Downsview Baptist Church will be people who do continue to love one another deeply from the heart. 1 Peter 1:22. That when we think about our concern for each other, it really is, as one of my former pastor buddies, Don Cook, said, that love is a sacrificial determination to do another good, especially as it relates to their eternal good. 1 Corinthians 13 is that very well-known passage about love. And it tells us in verse 7 that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. That means that when we have a concern for the good of other people, we're willing to hang in there with them, frankly, even when we're a bit uncomfortable with them. Let's not be afraid to inconvenience ourselves in love for one another these days. I pray, dear friends, that you're holding fast to the truths of the gospel that you know, and that you feel loved by Christ, and therefore, since he has loved us, 1 John 4 says, therefore we ought to love one another. Confident in the promises of God along with you. Cheers, friends.